I guess now that I realize that there is one, I probably would like to just see what it is and if there are any safety concerns. I suppose I do have some level of trust that the city would make sure that we're not in danger.
Definitely, since the blackout quite a few years ago now, there's always just kind of been like that wonder of what safety protocols are going on. You want to make sure that they are safe, and you just kind of have to trust the professionals in there and that they're gonna keep us protected.
Never realized that that's what this was, like at all. And you said that feels what? Like parts of Queens or
Yeah.
the city?
It's not just Queens, it's significant parts of the city. This is the biggest power plant in New York City.
I would say no one knows what a peaker plant is. No one knows that they exist. And I don't think this is unique to the peaker plant. I don't think anyone in New York City could tell you what is going on in any energy generating facility. Because why would you, right? Why would you know this? That's where the electricity comes from, and I pay the bill every month, and that's all I know.
Peaker power plants are power plants that come online during hours of the highest demand around the city. Typically, they operate around 15% of time out of the year. In New York City, we found that they only operate around 100 hours in a year. I think the problem with peaker plants, even though they only operate a few hours out of a year, is that they are disproportionately more polluting and they're disproportionately more costly. They emit higher amounts of CO2, NOx, and SO2. And so when they are operating, spew a lot of pollution into the surrounding neighborhoods. And those communities, what we've seen is that they have higher rates of cardiovascular diseases, asthma attacks, asthma hospitalizations, and higher levels of heat vulnerability.
It shoots out some type of stuff at night, and it comes on your windowsill. Well, my girlfriend lived on this side, and her window's faced there, and she told me about it. And she said she never opens her window on that side. And a lot of people is getting cancer also. I'm in remission with cancer. In 2011, I was diagnosed. And I know a lot of people live on this end, and a lot of them is getting cancer also. You don't know if it's coming from that or the water. I don't know. It's something here.
4 of 16, 25% of the peaker plants in New York City are in the South Bronx. And so, when you think about how these types of facilities and infrastructure is distributed, communities like ours for many decades end up playing host to a disproportionate number of these types of polluting infrastructures. And our community, not surprisingly, is disproportionately burdened with illnesses like asthma, a range of respiratory illnesses, but also we know now through lots of research that has been done over the last couple of decades that exposure to air pollution is also correlated, if not causes, illnesses and conditions like infant mortality, poor maternal health, cognitive impairment, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, dementia. So a person's entire life is impacted by exposure to air pollution.
On some level, as citizens, we expect our representatives to do that work so we can focus on living our lives and going to work and doing all the other things that we have to worry about, right? On the other hand, I think this information is kind of intentionally obscured.
There's a lot of profit and incentive structure for private operations and private development of the grid. Con Edison, for example, is regulated, but it's a privately owned company. And it is very important that in this phase of transition, as we phase out fossil fuels, that communities and the entities that communities has control of and the governments that are responsible for the communities that they've harmed for the past few decades is able to take a more active role in the power sector.
Yeah, so Queensbridge is interesting because it's obviously not the closest park for us. There's a ton of parks between our apartment and here, but it's largely the community. There's a ton of people that make this park what it is, and It's the reason we keep coming back every week.
This is softball, and these softball leagues, like Astoria, that it's a sense of family, it's a sense of community. I hang out with my team on the holidays. We hang out, during the middle of the week when somebody needs to be lifted up. We all gather around them and support them. So it's not just family. Not just friends. They become family. So it's very important. So, yeah.
It's important to me in this community. We try to build up, but every time you turn around, someone is sick.
Trying to charge for electricity, knowing that there's a huge power plant right here that's poisoning our air. They're like, how dare you? Well, I feel like I'm being robbed. I feel like I'm being lied to, like I'm being sold a dream. Like, I believe that this was a healthy environment. It makes me wonder about over time, how is it going to affect my breathing quality and my health, my child.
The thing that I would say about the peaker plants is, by themselves, they would be bad, right? But in combination with all of this other polluting infrastructure, it really is a matter of justice and equity.
Okay, so here's what you have to do in order to stop this. You have to make a phone call, you have to call a representative. Also, we need to not have to deal with this problem ever again in the future. We should have public power. We should not have private corporations like NRG and Con Edison and National Grid making these decisions and making it so that you have to call someone to beg them not to give you asthma, right? Instead, we should have an affirmative public authority that's making decisions in our interests.